Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Started the recording. I can't believe it's Thursday already. We've just finished a 3-day online retreat, and I think everyone has either listened to the recordings or been on it, apart from you, Luke, but I can send you the recordings. And it's just been so nice to, like Dave was like, let's do another day, because it's been so nice being with everyone. And the first one we did online was back in, I think, May, and then we did another one in June time.
Yeah.
And we weren't sure how it was going to be, like all being online, and whether it'd feel like a retreat or whether you'd feel connected to people. But it's been so nice that it hasn't seemed to have made a difference in the insights that people are having and the connections that have happened. So it's just been really nice. And we haven't given tonight a title, but one of the things that came up for me after the retreat is we got a nice email from someone who used to come to events that myself and my ex-husband Rudy ran, like about 6 or 7 years ago. And she sent such a lovely email about being on the retreat. And then she said, this is a message for Jen. When I first signed up to your training down south, when you were like assigned as my mentor, I was really disappointed because I thought you came across as cold and aloof. And then after our first one-to-one session, I felt so connected to you, and you felt so open-hearted and loving. And on the retreat, I described how so often in my life people have thought I was cold, aloof, rude, snooty, up my own arse is what you thought. And that it was always coming from like a place of insecurity and not wanting to put other people out, or shyness. It was never coming from I think I'm better than everyone, or the sort of things that people thought. And it really was a brilliant reminder for me, like how easy and often it can happen in our lives where we view someone else and think we know what they're thinking, or we think we know how they feel about us.
We think we know them.
Yeah, and it was nice because this lady was just saying, like, and then I got to know you, and we've kind of got this friendship, and it's just been such a great example of how easy it is to forget that. And we think that what we think is true. Well, they looked at me like that, so it must mean that, or they didn't say hello, and I think the amount of times, like you chat to the checkout people wherever we are, or the people in the charity shops, and it still doesn't come as easily to me as just to have a chat with people. And like Lisa and I today were in town.
Southern.
Lisa and I were in town today, and went into is it Unitarian church, and like Lisa was chatting away to this guy, and it was really nice. I didn't need to say anything, but I feel it, like it's just not as easy for me to make conversation. But the difference was, like, I'm quite comfortable with just feeling that uncomfortableness, and then at some point it either lifts or it doesn't. But I think what it really highlighted to me also is, like, compared to when I met this lady 6 years ago, I have changed a lot. I have started feeling more comfortable in my own skin and more able to connect and communicate. And you often say, God, I never would have thought you were shy most of the time now.
No.
And then the times that you do see me just go completely kind of like a mute, like I've lost my voice, is kind of funny to you because it's not as often now. But I think it's highlighted to me like how much I have changed, but how easy it is to forget that what we think someone thinks of us isn't true. And the more that we realise that, we stop kind of getting lost in it. But I was so grateful for the email. And I said it today, I was like, I'm not sure if I should be slightly offended or not, but it's fine.
There's nothing to take personally.
But I thought it'd be nice if anyone who was on the retreat wanted to share anything or have questions from the retreat, or anyone actually, even if you weren't on the retreat, if you'd like to ask anything, because we haven't got a topic.
Nope.
Quite open.
This is open to we can talk. If nobody has any questions, we're more than that. We've got stuff we can talk about. But if people have got any questions, or people want to share any insights that they've had, then we'd love to hear it. We'd love to hear them. Catherine, straight in there. I'm going to unmute you. Are you going to do it, Carl?
Yeah.
Carl.
really got anything that I want to share or anything. I just wanted to say how much.
One sec, love. I can't hear you. Can anybody else hear Catherine? No. Okay. Come a bit closer to your mic, Kath.
I can't say.
That's it.
It's not that I want to particularly share anything, apart from the fact that I absolutely loved it, all of it. It was just so good not watching other people's problems. You don't want to know that people have got problems, but it was just so good to watch how people, they're quiet at first, and then once they've shared, you can see how free they feel once they've shared. Just being able to share like that. I know how I felt when I did, and you could see from other people how it was affecting them, especially yourself, Paul. We thought it was absolutely brilliant where we saw yourself and Claire. Is it?
Yeah.
Claire, yeah. And some of the other couples that were on there. It's just so valuable. I just wanted to say that. That's pretty much it. It were absolutely great. Loved it.
Oh, we loved it. Yeah, Paul, special fella. We're really grateful to have you on tonight, man. It was, yeah, I get it. It's like Paul and I I think we had similar kind of lives. Not always the easiest. I think we've made our own lives very, very difficult. And then blamed the world. And then gone and fought the world for making our lives difficult. And it's interesting because I remember before I came across this, I had no intention ultimately of changing. I didn't want, I thought there were certain aspects of my ego that were actually really, really valuable in this world, and more people should have them. If it's actually a really valuable thing. Hey up, Ruth, love. And they were things like anger and being tough and confrontational and being able to handle yourself as a fella, and people knowing that you can handle yourself as a fella is probably won't mean anything to a lot of people, but to me it was such an important part of my ego. I used to think it was valuable. I somehow thought it brought me safety in my life until one day I just saw the nature of reality for what it was. And the moment I saw it, I didn't have to work on not being a hard man anymore. Something fundamentally changed in my life, and that thing that changed in my life was I didn't feel life in that moment. In that moment, it was total freedom, and there was no fear. All there was love. And it was interesting because the moment that love kind of filled up my being, the fear died, my anger died, my depression died, my anxiety died, my need to control people died, my need to control the world died. And it was all from one realization, one insight. And I often say this to people that come and work with us, and perhaps they've been searching for quite a long time. I'll ask them, what is it do you think you're searching for? And they'll give me an answer. I know the thing I found, I would never have known to look for it. I would never have thought that was the thing that would set me free. Peace and love is the thing that sets people free. And so to start to gain more understanding into that, I've got a really demanding Jack Russell. He's barking downstairs now.
I think your mum's getting.
Mum looks like she's just gone. And so people ultimately, all they ever want is peace of mind and freedom. And I think we fundamentally have to start somewhere looking at the root of all problems in order to find what we're looking for. And when we start to look at the root of all problems, as we start to find the root of that, we start to find the root of reality. And as we start to find the root of reality, life starts to make more sense. And as life starts to make more sense, it has this really ironic part to it. The more it makes sense, the more you become aware you cannot know. And the more we find ourselves in this space of, I know I cannot know, the more open we are to listening. And the more open we are to listening, the more open we are to hearing. And the more open we are to hearing, the more open we are to growth. But not of the ego. The ego we become aware of the ego. The ego becomes highlighted to our being as something that is made up. It is a thought. It is a belief system. And as people start to find that, the beautiful thing that I find with this is that it's a never-ending thing. Today, I've been at work today, and the insights I've been having have been beautiful. I've got to meet a lady today. Her name is, she's a lady. She's Lady Anne. And she was asking me what I did for a living, and I had to got into this conversation with her, and we ended up having the most beautiful conversation. And the insights that kind of came through the conversation, you start to find that as you start to wake up to this within yourself, there's something that we notice time and time again. People cannot help but want to help the next person once they've found it. That's a really beautiful thing. When people find this within themselves, they want to help the next person. And I think this is how the world changes. In Buddhism, they say, don't try and change the world, change yourself. Why? Let's look at that. It's not obvious at first. It's not obvious at first because we're born into a reality that we never question. Why would we? Why would we? We've been born into it. We know no different. We're taught from a very young age that our life is dependent on things, and we need things, and there are things to fear. There is a way to be, a good way to be and a bad way to be. That there is such a thing as good thoughts and bad thoughts, and right feelings and wrong feelings. It's a big industry built on the idea that there is such a thing as a wrong feeling. But then at some point in our lives, we're seeing this more and more people are starting to wake up. They're starting to question life. And this is what we have to do. We have to fundamentally start to question what is life. We live it. Or should I say, it lives us. You cannot live life. You cannot live life. Life lives us. It's not our job to live life. We can take that off our to-do list. Life is living. Well, what is life? And as we start to find the answer to what is life, again, we find the answer to what is reality. And we start to realize that it's, there he is, look, there's I don't know if anybody can see my sister's screen. He's a little shit, is that creature.
Look at him! What are you up to? Your dad's up there. What are you doing down here? I just got a bit excited by life that I can see you. Excuse us.
Yeah, you have him for tonight. But this is it. It's like that to me, there cannot be a more important question than asking ourselves, what is life? There cannot be a more important question. You know, we have all these people come to work with us, and they'll say, well, you know, in my life, I have these problems, and in my life, this, my life, that. And one of the first questions we ask them is, what is life? You get this perplexed look from people. You get this kind of, I don't know. Never really thought about that. It's a fundamental root question. And I'm really thankful that for whatever reason, I got to bump into a lady called Sue. And Sue introduced me to an understanding about life. And then I was really thankful that at some point, which I understood what she was saying, so I thought. But then and one day, the penny dropped. And for whatever reason, I awoke to life. And it was really simple. It was really simple. It was so simple. Life is living. Life is a living fact. And it's taking place within our being now. And the only way we actually know this is possible, it's actually happening, is because we are aware. Life is awareness. That is it. The awareness that we are listening to this conversation through right now is life. Take away the awareness, you take away life, you call that death. And within this awareness is the capacity for experience to be generated. Life is an experience. It's all experience. Life is life. All experience is life. And life ultimately is a neutral state, which is capable of creating the impression of infinite amount of states. Happiness, joy, sadness, grief, worry, anxiety, addiction are all manifestations of thought. This conscious state has the capacity for what we call thought. Is that somebody wanted to say something?
Me sneezing.
Oh, I see. I'll mute you. I crap myself. And it was so simple. It's so simple. And we think people who've been around this for a little while, they gain an insight now. I want to go deeper. And we say to these people, if you want to go deeper, you have to go simpler. Going deeper into the nature of reality or life or mind or consciousness is not to get more complex, it's to get more simple. Getting caught up in the nitty-gritty, getting caught up in the details. Now, they're details, they're creations. They're creations. To get simple, we have to stop being mesmerized by the creations and start to become aware of the creator. Singular force. This singular place from which all our experience emerges. And we call it our life. It's this right now, right here, right now. This is it. It is a conscious state. And whatever we think about this call, it appears true to us as our reality, our unique expression of reality.
I think when we worked, Leanne, who's on the call, we've got a lovely interview with her and her daughter, so she won't mind me saying, but when we worked with herself and her daughter, Jessie, it seemed, Jessie had struggled with her eating and her weight had got really low. And the initial call that Jessie and I did was lovely. And she said she knew there was something true in it, but she didn't know what it was. And then we did a few more. And then I think Leanne had sent us a few photos and we were like, wow, she really has lost a lot of weight. Like maybe we're out of our depth here. We're not in South Africa. And we kind of lost our bearings for maybe 1 or 2 calls, and Jessie didn't really want to speak to us again. And then we got to speak to her again, and you really apologise. Like, I think last time we were totally caught up in our head, we were lost. And then we just started talking again, and like, she's flying now. Like, whenever Leanne emails us, it's about another amazing achievement that Jessie has made. And then I know both her and her sister have just done incredibly well with their exams and things. But I really saw the simplicity of Sid's message again. Like, if you can sit with people and see that they're okay, see their health, see the divinity that lays within them, despite what they present. Like, that is the simplicity of what this brought to my life when I first came across it, because I didn't have any words. I had no idea what happened to me. I didn't have any language to try and really tell other people about it so much. But I was just looking at other human beings with like all this stuff going on, and all these stories and all these problems and all of these labels. And I was like, you don't realize you're fine. You just don't know it. Like, you're fine. There's nothing wrong with you. You just don't realize it. And, you know, I can get caught up too, but actually below that, we're fine. And I know then over the years, like, I've been so blessed in terms of the amount of trainings I've been on, the trainings I've given, the interviews, the filming. But then I realized it kind of, the times when it gets more complicated, the times when it seems like there is a teaching, there is something to give people, it feels heavy again. And being with Jessie and Leanne, it was just that reminder of just know that people are okay. Fundamentally, people are okay, they just don't know it. And if you can sit with them and guide them until they see that for themselves, and if that wakes up within them, they will teach themselves, they will guide themselves, they will have insight perfect for their life, how to manage anything in their life. And like Lisa asked me earlier, do I ever write anything? I said, I've got a lot of thinking about writing. Like, I can kind of speak on webinars and do one-to-ones.
Who asked you that?
Lisa. And so I did write a chapter for a book for kids, kind of what would you tell your younger self? So she asked me to read it to her. And as I was reading it, it was seeing again how inexplicable the change that happened to me was. And then how from that moment on, I haven't seen people as damaged or broken. Like, and the gift of that.
Can I just tell you guys that Jessie, my older daughter Amber, was experiencing like a lot of anxiety around going to sleep, because she was just battling to fall asleep and stay asleep. And every night I was having her crying and coming to my room, and this was going on like for weeks. And I was talking to her and not really making any dent. And then I went to say goodnight to Amber and then to Jessie. And when I went to say goodnight to Jessie, she said something to me about Amber that just was like, oh my God, that just makes like more sense than anything I've ever said to her. And I sent Amber to Jessie's bed, and they lay together in bed. And I have no idea what they spoke about or what Jessie said to her. Just the last week been absolutely fine, no issues. So yeah.
When we interviewed you and Jess, and she said how grateful, how blessed she was to have gone through what she's gone through because of what she's learned. And like, this all really kicked off in like February. I know there's a bit of a lead into that, but for her to then say in September, I feel grateful for what I went through. And she's 12, isn't she?
Might people in this call that are aware of exactly what
I mentioned it. Oh,
you?
yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, I was saying that I spoke to Jessie and Leanne about Jessie's eating.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So, but we can put a link out of the interview because it's stunning. But I love that, Leanne. It's almost like you were saying, if you wake up to this, you want to share with others, and how cool that she's got to share with her sister. And the insights that she came out with, like, this isn't age dependent.
No.
And it's that light going on within her. And it's like, God, how many other little ripples are going to happen from you guys? And that's the beauty of this. I know that Roger Mills, the guy who I learned from, used to talk about the ripple effect. And he was saying in his mind, when he worked with communities, if 20% of a community started to get a sense of this, then the whole community would start to change. And then you see, like within families, like if one person starts to change and get a sense of this, it can't help but ripple out. And like I loved, I don't know if she said it on the interview, Leanne, but when Jessie speaks about, and then my dad, this happened with my dad, and then I told him this, and like she's so insightful and she sees what's going on, and it's like that. You see other people's minds playing out and playing tricks on them. And if you don't buy into it, what comes to you to say is perfect. But thank you for sharing that, Leanne.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
That's beautiful. I'm really glad that it's helped Amber as well. I know not sleeping can just seem like it goes on forever. I was just going to ask anyone who's new to community group, and I know Ruth, you came on a little bit late. We want it to be interactive and open to questions and comments. So please, if anyone has questions, comments, or they've had insights they'd like to share, please either unmute yourself and share, or you can put it in the chat box. Rusty's back.
Hi.
Hiya.
Hey, you bunch.
Hi.
Hello.
I just wanted really to share about the retreat the other day. I didn't come live because I couldn't because of my situation. But I've been listening to them on night times, like early mornings, 5 o'clock, something like that. And I've just changed. There's something within me now, and all I can describe it is, it's peace with myself, with my situation that I've got. I don't know if you can remember my situation that I have. Yeah. Yes. And I was just living in such a horrible place. I was very begrudging and very snappy. And why should this be happening to me? I don't deserve this, and all sorts of these things going through my head. And every day I was starting to feel physically ill, as well as and mentally as well. But I've noticed the past couple of days, and especially after listening to Lisa's talk as well the other night and listening to what she had to say, I woke up on the morning and I just was smiling, and I can't, it was such a weird feeling. I had like butterflies in my tummy, but for the wrong reason, you know. It was just something that I'd never felt for such a long time. And I know Dave, you'd written that thing on the board about past is your memories and future is your imagination. And I've like sort of been in that all the time, especially the past. I've been living on that on a day-to-day. But I've noticed I'm more patient with my husband. I'm more tolerant now. And even him, he's got his Alzheimer's. He seems to be reacting better to me because I'm not being that person anymore. So the house is just more calm now. Beautiful. And it's lovely. And it's like, I think to myself, I shouldn't be feeling this way. I should be really like getting angry and that, and I can't. I'm trying to and I can't. But I really, really enjoy what I'm feeling, and I can only describe it as peace. I mean, all the way through my life, I've had rules about the way I lived my life. And again, what Lisa was saying the other day about, like, she was running and she was, vans were passing her, and she was thinking, all right, this van's going to turn around and it's going to come after me and like kill me or whatever. And I used to think that when I was walking the dog early morning. I used to be walking along thinking, I'm not going down there because that man looks a bit odd, so I'm going to turn back. And whatever she was saying, I could relate to. But I just want to say thank you, because I've known about the 3 principles for a few years, and I've got it and I know what it's about, but it's never made me feel this way that I do now. And it's great. I can see everything that I've been thinking. I'm also a bit sad in the way that the things that I've missed out on in my life because I've put barriers in the way and had all these thoughts about why I shouldn't do them. Oh, I'll just tell you this quickly as well. Yesterday, I went to the hairdressers, and I go to the hairdressers not very often, but I go, and my hair's always been a big thing to me. And I've always had long hair, and I would never have it cut short because my long hair was hiding a lot of things to me. Anyway, I went to the hairdressers yesterday and I sat down, and she said, right, Aunt, should I just the same then? I went, no, cut it off. And she was like, are you sure? She said, no, you don't mean that. I said, I do. I want my hair cut short. And she said, oh, Ange, I can't do this for you. She said, because I know you'll regret it. I said, I want my hair cut short. Can you just do it, please? I want to change. Anyway, she's cut my hair short from being halfway down my back. And now I've had it cut short, and I'm like, I feel great.
I like it.
I was going to
Thank
say, I'm sure you normally have long hair.
Yeah, it was like halfway down my back. And even when she was cutting it, I could see it dropping. And I was like, this is great. You know, yeah, I was just so pleased, and I drove home when I'd finished, and it was just great. And I'm thinking, I just love this feeling of this peace I've got within myself. Thank you, Flick. So thank you. That retreat was just brilliant, and I loved it. I wish I could have been live, but circumstances couldn't. But thank you. I really enjoyed it.
Whereabouts are you in the country?
Teesside, Stockton on Tees, Middlesbrough, that way.
Not too far from another fella that I know that went to the hairdressers after coming to the retreat and had his hair cut short.
Right.
He's in Sunderland.
Oh, right. Yes. Yeah. That's about
Is that right,
15, 20 miles.
Retreat and then did your hair cut off?
Oh, you actually did. I thought you were just being silly.
No, I was just taking a piss.
Oh, so that side of the country.
No, they're on the same side of the country.
That's what I'm saying. That not our side.
Oh no, not our side. The east.
Yeah, we're about 1 3/4 hours away from you. We normally come over to the lakes every year, because we've got friends in Grasmere.
Oh, nice. They did the best carrot cake in Grass.
Yeah, best carrot cake.
Oh,
yeah.
yes.
I'm
Yeah, Baldry's.
world authority on carrot cake. It's one of my skills.
It's a lovely place.
And I exercise a lot. And there's a carrot cake in Grasmere that's got a 9.5.
Oh, that's really good then.
That's a very good. Emma's Dell.
In where?
Emma's Dell.
It's gluten-free as well, which is amazing.
Brilliant.
Oh, well, that's even better then if it's gluten-free.
Well,
So thank you, yes.
Is that anywhere near where we did the conference with the guys over on the Northeast?
That was at Summit Burn. What was it called?
Saltburn?
Saltburn.
Aye.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
not
there's
too
quite
far
a
from
big
me.
Three Principles community over that side.
Yeah.
And I think there's even like a centre and things. So
I think I saw Dickon did something there.
yeah.
At Saltburn, yeah.
Yeah,
Mm.
there's a few things happen there, isn't there?
Yeah.
Mm.
Can I
Yeah.
ask,
So
can I ask
great.
a question?
Thank you, Ange. It was
You're
beautiful.
welcome.
Flick.
Thank you. What you said earlier about like not going deeper but kind of going simpler, like really resonated with me. So I discovered the 3 principles through Hannah Studley, because I have, you know Hannah? She lives in Israel.
No, then.
I think
She has she recovered from 25 years chronic pain after discovering the 3 principles. So I have chronic pain, and that's why I was working with Hannah. And now I'm working with John Al-Mokadam and Karen DeMarco. I don't know if you know those guys, but they're 3 principles, and they run they both recovered from chronic fatigue and eating disorders with discovering the 3 principles. So they run programs there.
What was the fellow's name?
John Al-Mokadam, I think that's how you say it.
No.
we're friends. We've seen his posts and things.
Right.
Yeah, he's done research on it as well. He's got a study coming out, which is really cool.
Cool.
But what I've found is because the understanding seems so linked to my health healing, I'm really clinging to going deeper and trying to understand. And I really feel that the vitalness in everything. So I just wondered if you could speak to laying off. You know what I mean? Like just like having a bit more of a lighter touch. Because everything's really urgent right now because it's like linked to me feeling well. And I'm like, if I can just get that insight like John did, then but
see,
I know it doesn't really work like that.
We think we're looking for an insight. That's a thought.
Yeah.
Right? And as long as that thought exists, it's a belief.
And it's future based.
It's based in time. It doesn't exist. Again, take it off our to-do list. There is nothing to do.
It's not my job.
It's not your job. There is absolutely nothing to do. And this doesn't mean, if you feel uncomfortable, don't move. Get yourself comfortable. And this doesn't mean if you somebody who takes painkillers and you've got a bit of a bad back, somebody takes painkillers. Not saying don't. There's a big difference between there's nothing to do and do nothing.
Yeah.
Okay, and people often confuse what we're saying with, oh, there's nothing to do in the principles, and then they do nothing. No. Live. This is what the principles are literally just a conversation about the nature of life. What is life? But the reason why I say there's nothing to do is because the thing that people are truly looking for, they can't find it with their mind, with their intellect. Okay, this is not an intellectual process.
Thank God.
I remember. No, absolutely. Thank God. I mean, I remember Sue saying to me, "Dave, there's nothing to do," and I was going, "Right, I'll have a bit of that," because I'm one seriously lazy bastard. I'm totally down with that. And I just listened. I started to think I knew what she was talking about. The moment I thought I started to know what she was talking about, this beautiful feeling that I had found started to kind of die as I got lost in my intellect again. As I started to think I knew something. And then one day I listened to Sydney Banks. First time I ever listened to him. It doesn't happen for everybody. I always have people go, "I want your experience, Dave." You can't have it. You can only have your experience. But it is so simple that there is nothing we need to do. The perfection of life is always existent. It doesn't go anywhere. It's not based in the past. It didn't exist. This only existed like when I was a child. I felt the vibrancy of life and I knew it was perfect. No, it's always existed. It is the only thing that truly exists is perfection. It's so perfect, it even allows for things like depression, anxiety, suicidal thoughts, horrible feelings. We are that free we can dream anything. Because ultimately that's what reality is. It's a dream state. There is nothing outside of your consciousness you've ever experienced in your life. You've never even experienced a cup of tea outside of consciousness. Any word, any learning has all been created within the mind, generated, experienced, and it all looks real. It looks so real that humanity doesn't question it. It blindly believes everything that it thinks, and it goes to war with one another and tries to destroy itself. This is how convincing the reality that we each encounter is.
Add something, really.
Yeah, go on.
No, I was just going to say it's cool that you've started to have the awareness that you're kind of like trying to get it.
Yeah.
like you've had that awareness. You're not just blindly doing it now. You're kind of recognizing, okay, maybe I need to stop looking in that direction. But I think also the thing that's been occurring to me recently is how easy it is to buy into the story of illness, discomfort, pain. Like I know my dad's found a lot of relief through coming across the principles. He had chronic fatigue and has experienced a lot of pain, and but he just said he can see how, and I know from my own life at different things, like how much we put our focus and our attention on pain and wanting to be rid of it, but how so much of our identity is around the story of pain and the story of illness and those kind of stories. And I think the more we can see that the creation is not fixed, we're not who we think we are, and get more and more interested in who we actually are, and that essence that is unchanging, that is perfect, that cannot be broken. And the more that we recognize that, can you move it across so I can still see?
Sorry, sweetheart.
Yeah, so I can't see you. I can't see.
I can see you, all right.
No, it's my fault.
Thanks, you're on the chat. The more that we start to shift our attention away from what's wrong, what we want, where we want to be, like, to the fact of what is creating, what is present within us, that's always been present within us. What is it that unites us? What is it that's whole? What is it that's already perfect? It's like a shift in our consciousness is where we then start to find relief and ease in whether it be physical or mental suffering. And I know that even since we've been together, like I've got a lot less attached to my story of illness, because I always used to sort of have something, and like I still have different things, but I can see how I kind of almost learned that from my dad in lots of ways. And it's like my focus has just got less and less on it, and I can now have, like I had really bad eye pain the other day, and it was swollen, and like in the middle of the night I can feel my mind go, oh my god, what if it's like a tumor, what if it's, and like that is for whatever reason where my mind goes when I get pain. Like I panic and all of my attention goes on it. But this seems to just at some point draw me back to my breath, or it will draw me back to something within that is already perfect, that doesn't exist in that world of form of pain, but that's been created. And it's something like Sid would always speak about, just start to raise your level of conscious state, start to have more awareness. And when you spoke, it's like you're getting awareness. Oh, okay, I'm trying to grasp at something. I want the experience John had. So already like you're starting to have insight and awareness around, oh, okay, it doesn't work like that. I need to back off. So it feels like you've already got a sense of what you need to do.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
And I think that's the thing, like as
There's
our
just
awareness,
nothing to do.
as the awareness starts shifting away from our problem, like, I don't know, like it's just as soon as we have something that's focused in on what we want to learn the principles about, it's all we see.
We miss the point.
And it's almost like we have to just take it off our mind, and it feels counterintuitive because we're like, yeah, but I want to better myself, I want to get rid of this, I want to.
It's not how we're trained. Like naturally we're not trained to do nothing.
No.
Stuff happens.
We're trained to figure it out, but you can't. You cannot figure it out. What it can do is it can reveal itself through yourself as an insight, as a feeling state. Most people who gain insight, they don't actually know what they've had insight about. There is a shift in consciousness. And a shift in consciousness brings about a corresponding shift in reality. Okay. Yeah. People want to change the world. Back to that Buddhist statement. Don't try and change the world, change yourself. How do you change yourself? You do nothing. You stop trying.
Cool, thank you.
Because the moment you stop trying, you have not filled your awareness with thoughts. And an awareness without thoughts is a state of peace, it is absolute purity.
Yeah, because what I've noticed is like there's like where I am now and like where I want to be, and there's this like tension and this pulling, and that resistance is like aggravating my nervous system and creating more pain. So really I just have to like this made up illusion of who I think I should be, you know, misproductive and not lying in bed all day. Like, well, I had a pretty harsh breakup last month. So if I want to spend a day in bed, fuck it, whatever. Like, so it's more being like who I am now and letting go of that friction that I can feel.
You know, this is it. People, you really look at it, what you've got a situation of there is an ego trying to better itself.
Based on like illusionary standards that something made up. It's, you know.
That we dreamt up.
Yeah, I dreamt up.
This is it. She isn't on at the moment, but we've got an author who she's pretty well. She's well known in her circles. Like, and she rang me up one day. She went, "Dave, I need help." I'm like, "What's wrong?" She said, "I've got to get this book out." When by March 1st. Right, okay. And we're chatting away, and I just said to her, Who's giving you this deadline? Was it your publisher? And she said, "Oh no, I self-publish."
Yeah.
And I said to her, hold on a minute. So you're paying me money so that I can help you find peace around a deadline that you've got looming that you made up. Why didn't you just move the fucking deadline? She was like, "Oh my God. I could just move the deadline." Yes, you could. You see, whilst we have got our mind so preoccupied with one thing, it is at the exclusion of everything else.
Yeah.
You know, all common sense drops, like just goes out the window because we're so consumed with this problem.
Yeah.
You know, and if you really look at the nature of a problem, you'll see it doesn't really exist. There is no problem in the world. There is simply what the world is doing. A problem is a perspective of thought. That's all a problem is. It's a thought. And this is the beautiful thing. Sid's message was, wake up and see it's all thought. Wake up. Wake up, see you are dreaming. It's all thought. Wake up. That's why people call it a wake up. That's why they call it awakening. Because you awaken from the sleep state, in the sleep state, because you cannot help but be in this state of consciousness, in the dream state. You wake up within the dream of consciousness and realize, shit, it's all thought. Reality is generated within my consciousness. My world is entirely unique to myself. Nobody else can see my deepest, darkest fears, my deepest, darkest thoughts. They can't see it. They cannot see the world that I see. It's impossible. And likewise, I can't see anybody else's world. But the world I see looks entirely tangible, real, and fact.
Mm.
And this is why people argue. Because they think that the way that they think that the way that they see the world is correct. And of course, then you get the other person who thinks that the way that they see the world is correct. And now X tries to convince Y that their world is inaccurate and their world is correct. There's 7.7 billion human separate realities walking around on the face of planet Earth right now, and nobody knows it. We all think we're experiencing an external reality. You see, when we start to wake up to this, we start to wake up to the illusion of reality. And when we start to wake up to the illusion of reality, we can see it for what it is. Even if just for a moment, somebody sees it for what it is, their consciousness will shift in an instant. The world will change in front of their eyes.
I have to try and find the email and send it to you, because she said I could share it, but there's a lady who had chronic fatigue who was learning the principles to fix herself, and she's had chronic fatigue I think since she was about 18, and she said she just about managed to do uni, and then she's had all these other symptoms, and she said she hadn't realized that for the first couple of years she was learning the principles to fix herself. She was learning the principles to fix this problem, and she said, and for some reason it fell off her mind to do that, and she kind of backed away from the principles for a while and started living. And she just said she started to find her own rhythms, and one of the things she realized is we're all different, and actually I seem to do really well if I get to have a nap in the afternoon.
Yeah.
I feel brilliant afterwards. She goes, but I've been beating myself up for the fact I need a nap.
Yeah. Standards that we create.
She
Absolutely,
saw all the
yeah.
rules, and she said like the freedom that's come. And then one of the things that hasn't been on her to-do list was she's scared of heights. She's been terrified her whole life. And then in the summer, she goes, I found myself going up the ladder and giving the roofers cups of tea, and I wasn't scared. And she's like, she suddenly realized she wasn't scared. And but that wasn't on my to-do list of things to change. And I think that's the thing to remember, that sometimes we have insight and change, and it's not even things we had targeted, but it seems to be the things that we focused on and targeted that we don't seem to see anything around, because it doesn't work that way. I mean, we can put it out there, I'd love to see something around this, and then get on with your life. But it's like, otherwise it is just your
I think that's really the key point. Like, Jen, like when you just said get on with your life, I'm like, yeah, that's it. That's it.
It's the only thing that's actually happening if you really look at it.
Because you're already this understanding,
You're
already in action.
What we're talking about, everybody already is, they just don't know it, because they cover it up with a lot of beliefs of who they think they are. You know, if you really were to put a human being in a pan, the mind of a human being, and boil it down, I'm not talking about the brain. The brain's a slave to the mind. We're always looking at the brain. We're always looking at the physical. The physical doesn't create anything. It can't. Physical can't create more physical. It takes energy to create physical, and energy is, well, if anybody can tell me what energy is, I'd love to hear it. Nobody knows. We all use the word. Nobody knows what it is. Energy. Nobody knows. It's a deep mystery, and it will remain a mystery forever, because the moment we know something, we're into creation. The moment we think, a thought is creation. And this is the thing, you know, we're looking at creation. When somebody comes to us and they're like, oh, I've got this aspect of life I want to get rid of. No, you're all right. If you can see how that is created, now you'll find your freedom. But like Jen said, it won't just be around that subject. You will realize the ego that we've carried around, all these beliefs that we've idly just walked around with in life without questioning. It has to be. I remember when I realized it, I always said, if somebody put a gun to my head, Mark's just woken up. If somebody put a gun to my head and said, right, school and college education, or what you realized on that August in 2013, what would you take? Just get rid of my school and college education. I will keep the knowledge of how reality exists. I will keep the knowledge of how life fundamentally exists, that it truly is a spiritual. You know your stuff, man.
Has he put it public? Oh, he's done it privately. I'll have
Yeah,
to
good.
read it out.
No, don't, because then he'll read what I said to him.
Mark knows what energy is.
Mark knows what energy is. You know, when people wake up to this, it opens up their heart to something. And Paul, I know you've experienced this, dude. It's like it opens up the heart to something bigger than themselves, and they recognize it. And themselves that I'm talking about is our ego, the thoughts and beliefs that we have identified as our self, the one that creates the thoughts and beliefs that create the character, the persona, the personal, the self, the personality, the ego. And when we start to see that, we start to see it's a load of beliefs. It's the belief that I'm not good enough. It's a belief. Addiction's a belief. Addiction is a belief in addiction. It's not treated like that. It's treated as a disease. It's treated as an illness. It's not an illness. It's a thought. When an addict is not thinking about drugs or anything like that, where's the craving? When an addict is getting on with their job. I remember saying to my mate Ed, cocaine addict, he's on his digger, Said, you've got a sewer pipe there, mate. You've got a lecky cable running down here. You've got to dig a trench in between. What are you thinking about? Well, not busting the sewer pipe and not tearing up the lecky cable. You craving? No, I'm thinking about what? Where's your craving? Where's your addiction in that moment? You know, and then at some point your mind dreams up the thought about cocaine. And the moment you think about cocaine, you feel that thought. In the same way as the moment I have a thought of anger towards somebody, I feel the expression of it via my feeling state of anger. Or the moment I see a picture of some beautiful looking animal and so cute. I feel the love. You know, I can look at a rat, I can pick up a rat, I can look at it and go, you are the cutest little thing. Oh, you are awesome, I love you. And I frigging love rats. I could hand it to the next person, they could be terrified of it. The world does not give us experience. Experience is generated via our minds and the way we think. All of it. From birth till death, that's the only thing that's happening. When the thing is about thought, it's totally and utterly infinite and free. Everybody is free to think anything. But then the wise start to catch on. And they realize, they look at the world, see what's going on, they see the wars, they see the separation, they see the hatred going on. And they realize that's created from thought too. All of it. You cannot have a war without thought. You know, the reason why soldiers are drilled so hard is to help them think different. Because they know that the mind is the thing that kind of stops people. The mind is the thing that fundamentally there is this part of us that knows this, but we've never put two and two together and seen the totality of it. You know, a lady came to us one time and she said, what about soldiers at war? You know, you can't say that they're not scared. I said, but I know soldiers who've been shot at and have bombs, IEDs gone off next to them, and they've said they've never felt more alive. And yes, there are some that suffer. The war zone itself is not creating the experience. The experience is created within the individual as a reality that looks real to them and them only. So whilst the one person is buzzing off the bombs and the shootings, the next person's terrified. You see that this is what's going on. And for those people who wake up, it seems to do something for them. It seems to take them in a direction. And what happens is more and more people fall out of fear and all the associated emotions and goings on alongside fear, things like anger, things like jealousy, things like, you can indeed, mate, just give me 2 secs. Then certainly, please. The jealousy, the envy, that I need to be somebody better. These are all based in fear. Depression, anxiety, worry, all based in fear. You know, and then, but when people fall out of fear, there is naturally only one other direction for them to head in that moment. Love. And all the associated things that go on with love. Acceptance, understanding, forgiveness, kindness.
Peace. Like
peace. Peace, like, yeah, exactly like Angie said. Peace. You know, and this is the thing. If more and more people start to wake up to this, which is happening now, this is taking place. It's actually happening. The world is undergoing a massive shift in consciousness. We see it more and more and more and more and more. More and more people are coming through our program. Then there's people doing other programs all over the world, and people are going through that. And there's people waking up spontaneously, and there's people thinking differently. There's people going, we need to look after this planet. You know, it's like this shift in consciousness is taking place. The world is not going to shit. The world's heading in a beautiful direction. It might have to go through some things yet. The human mind is a dynamic thing. And there are plenty of people out there who haven't really considered waking up yet. But the world's heading in a trajectory of more and more awakening. I think that's beautiful. Paul, I'd love you to share what you wanted to share, dude. Do you want me to unmute you? I'll unmute you. One sec. Tell you when I can hear you. Fire.
You got it?
Yeah.
Right. I'll keep it short because I explained to Dave on a text earlier. Public speaking is a fear of mine, which through things like this I'm trying to get over, and I know I will conquer it 100% one day, and hopefully soon. But the three principles are, if you don't know us from the retreat at the weekend, are brand new to me. Literally, it was Claire, my ex, has tried. She's actually just come into the room now because she's just finished a call herself. So I'll bring her on with us. So Claire's tried helping us and educating us on various understandings and help with regards to mental health, from counselling to mindfulness and meditation to anger management. And I've tried all of them, but it's always been missing something. It never quite clicked. And then she started telling us recently about this thought process, and she's always tried drumming it into us that I'm perfect and I just need to understand that I'm perfect. But all I thought was, this is just like hippie, new love shite. It's not for me. And then she got us in on Friday to join your retreat, and it's unlocked a huge part of my life where I've wore the shirt of a 6'6", 19 stone angry man to put people off from getting close. And I've had a life of, I judge everyone at first appearance, at first sight, and I criticise. And now I can see the reason why is because I'm judging and criticising myself constantly, in a negative way. And I've always hated rules and routine because I thought it was boring and not necessary in life. Yet, so I go out my way to avoid routine and rules and break them quite happily. But now I can see that I've had a list for all of me childhood, the years that I remember, and the whole of my adult life, where I've had a list of rules and regulations that I've had to stick to and put myself in a box, which now I can see has only held us back, but it still got us through to today. So I just need to make peace with myself. A few weeks ago, I took an overdose, and luckily I'd been on the phone to Claire, and when I fell asleep because of the tablets, she got my brother on the phone, who got my mum to call an ambulance, and I ended up in hospital overnight. And I beat myself up even the next day, saying, like, Claire, she came to see us, and I was so wound up and confused because I felt perfectly well the next year. And I beat myself up because how can I go from taking tablets on a night time to literally 18 hours later feeling perfectly normal? And it was just Dave's comment on, it was your comment on Friday or Saturday when you said suicidal thoughts has the same power as what flavour yogurt will I pick. So the reason why I took the tablets is because I did, and there's no judgment call to be made on myself. So I will be delving deeper into this, and I just want to say thank you.
You don't need to thank us, mate. But thank you for being on.
Thank you for sharing.
Thanks for sharing, dude. You're quite good at that public speaking crack.
Sorry?
You're quite good at the public speaking crack. That was lovely, man.
No, thank you. I'll mute myself now.
Well done. Go lad. You know, this is it. It looks so convincing in that moment. I remember we mentioned this on the retreat, but we went for a walk one day after a whole day of heaviest of heavy rains. Jen and I, and walking through Pedmarsh, it was frigging pissing it down, absolutely hammering it down all day. Cloud was about 3 foot off the deck and pissing it down. And all of a sudden, within an hour, all gone. We walked out into bright sunlight, didn't we? And you said, it's just like the mind. And then you said, why does it look like it's so permanent? Why is it when the rain's in, it looks like it's forever? Because forever is now. That's why. Because now is permanent. And whatever we are experiencing in that moment, that's all there is. If I'm angry in the moment, I'm angry in this moment. If I'm feeling love in this moment, I'm feeling love in this moment. It's all there is. It's all there is. That's why it looks like it's permanent. Because it's all there is. But then you start to wake up to it and realize the now is in a constant state of change. You look at it, you look at anything long enough, you will never leave the now and it will change. It creates an illusion that we call time. You never leave the now. You've never left the now. It's always been now. What time is it? It's now. Still now. Now hasn't gone anywhere. The only thing is we've thought and therefore we remember. Or we've generated experience and therefore we remember. And because we remember it, because we can remember it, we know that there is going to be further now, and we call it a future. You know, the mind doesn't. We neither walk. We do not walk through. We do not move through reality. Reality moves through us. And we do not move through time. Time moves through our mind. It's all thought. Time could not exist without thought. What we call time, the illusion of time, memory, imagination. Past is memory. The future is imagination. The same stuff we use to dream up everything else. The same. That's why the suicide thought is made of exactly the same stuff as what yogurt do I fancy. A thought is thought. Some of it we take seriously and think it's more serious. Oh, I had this thought. I have fucking mental thoughts. I have illegal thoughts. I have totally and utterly immoral thoughts. I have thoughts I am never going to tell anybody for fear of judgment. We all do. It's part of part of consciousness. In infinity thought, there's not kind of like infinity, but not that. No, infinity is everything. And it's all the same thing. Ultimately, love and fear are exactly the same thing. They're generated experiences of the mind. Alice.
So I always forget how I am supposed to unmute myself. I just want to say thank you for everyone who's spoken today and shared. Paul, love that. Honestly, it just I so resonate with everything that you said. It was just beautiful. Thank you for sharing. Because I know it's not easy. I was on the retreat on the weekend, and the first retreat I did back in May, I shared, I think it was on day 2, I had a massive insight. And I just found after that, any groups that I went to, I just had to talk. It wasn't necessarily that it had to be about me or I had to share my insights, but I don't know, I just talked and talked and talked and talked. But whilst I was talking, I wasn't listening. I wasn't taking anything in. And for some reason, this retreat was completely different. I listened. I was just like a sponge. I soaked up everyone's experience. I was in a completely different space. And I did have questions, although I think I typed a few, and thank you both, Jen and Dave, for continuing to talk, and then people would put comments in. So my comments must have gone right down to the bottom, which was great because I was so focused on my own questions. And it was until you shared at some point, don't listen with a view to finding the solution. And I was like, damn, that's why I'm here. I'm putting the time in to get a solution. And the need to find an answer kind of just fell away. And the need to talk or to share or anything just fell away. And I just wanted to be there. I just wanted to be present. Nothing else. And I mean this in the nicest possible way. I didn't think I would, this is going to sound so arrogant, but I'm being real. I didn't think I would get anything that would help me, because I came to the understanding October 2018, had a huge insight, everything shifted, and then I was back. And I know you can't lose an insight, but it felt like I had. And what it felt like to me after this retreat on the weekend was I never actually got the understanding. I glimpsed something. And Jen, I shared this with your dad numerous times. I'd sit and I'd talk with him. And I'd always end the conversation with, wow, you know what? I'm in that beautiful place. Nothing's wrong. Nothing's missing. Don't need anything. Life's great. And I'd stay in that for a while. And I've meditated for years. And I was looking for that. What I didn't realize until, when was it? Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday morning. What that was it's like a blissed out state. It wasn't real life. It was a state. You know, I've never done drugs, but you can take drugs, you can drink. There's different things you can do to change your own state. And I was looking for that. And I was looking for something that would change things. And it was only on the Monday that I realized, oh my God, what I've got now is the seeking's over. I'm not saying I'm not blissed out. I'm not even saying nothing's wrong or nothing's missing. It was just, I'm okay. I've always been okay. And I'm not looking for anything. I'm not seeking anything. It was completely different. I actually felt as though I was in life. Whereas before, here was me in my little bubble, feeling amazing. And there was life and nothing was touching me. It wasn't real. And what I realized was I intellectually got the understanding, but I I wasn't living it. I understood it up here. We have innate health. We're all okay. Nothing's wrong. No one needs to be fixed. Yeah, I can read it, you know, chapter and verse, the whole thing. But when you recite it like that way, and you say to other people, yeah, I know, you know what, you're telling me your problems, but you're okay. You have innate health. I didn't have it. I didn't feel like I had it, but I was telling them because I'd heard that. And then when I actually felt it, I'm like, that was what it was. I didn't have it. I wasn't living it. I've always had it. Everyone has it, but I never felt it. I took the understanding, I understood it intellectually, and I ran with it. I'm like, yeah, you know what? I can do something with this. It sounds great. But every morning I'd wake up, and I think I've shared this before, I'd have this sense of doom, and this, it wasn't depression, but it felt like what depression would feel like. And I just didn't get it. And I didn't understand because nothing in my life had changed. And interestingly, Monday morning, as I woke up, I'd had a dream. I'd say a nightmare. And it's kind of every parent's worst nightmare. I've never ever had a dream or a nightmare like that, anything to do with my son. Nothing like that. No idea where it came from. And straight away, I just had the thought, and I think I've shared this with you, if you don't want to experience it, if you don't want to experience it, then don't create it, don't go into it. It's the thought that creates. And I kind of had a flashback to what Lisa shared about being on the bike, and she was going up the hill, and you know, the adrenaline's going. It's very, very real. Her experience is so real. And then she stops, bursts out giggling, and realizes there's no one there. It was her thought, it was her imagination. She went into it and she created it. And I thought I'd understood when they say that thought creates your experience. That's where it comes from. I didn't get it. I really didn't get it. Again, I can explain it. I can sit down and I can explain it with the best of them, but I didn't feel it. And that nightmare that I had, and I woke up out of it, and I don't know why I had that. I've never had it before. And then the flashback to what Lisa shared, and coming back to the nightmare, I don't want that to happen. I don't even want to experience the aftermath of having that nightmare. You know, as a mom, and it's like my heart's pounding now. I'm creating it now. And I thought, well, don't go into it. You have a choice. You don't have a choice as to what you dreamt or what the nightmare was. And I don't have a choice about the thoughts that arise, but I have a choice whether I go into it. And you know what? I am not going into that thought. Left it. And then just before I woke up, that sense of doom came back. I'm like, oh God, here we go again. Here we go again. I've tried something and it hasn't worked. And then again, I just realized, yeah, you don't have to create it if you don't want that experience. And it wasn't, it sounds like, sorry, a technique. It wasn't a technique. And I was like, well, yeah, I don't want that experience. I'm done with that. So I carried on with my day. And then Tuesday came, and Wednesday came, and Thursday, and I didn't have to do anything. That thought didn't come back. And I've just had amazing experiences. I've got all my self-help books and I don't want to read them. I'm doing different things. You know, every morning I'm playing with my son, and we've got a little dancing, what do you call it, a Christmas tree. And he presses it, and every morning we have a little dance. We do it at night. Yesterday I was on the floor in the lounge, rolling around on the carpet. I have not laughed so hard in my life, honestly. He tickled me, I tickled him, we laughed, we giggled, and I laughed. Even my husband came over, he's like, geez, I've never heard you laugh. It's normally a forced kind of laugh. And it was lovely. And I hated spiders, and I say hated, not hate. And I was terrified. I live an hour away from where my mum lives. And if James wasn't home and my neighbours weren't in, I'd pack up, I'd go to my mum's. I'd drive an hour there because I could not be in the home with a spider. It would get me. It doesn't matter what room I went into. And I just realised, oh my God, I don't know where it came from. I'm not scared of them. And I saw one this morning in the bathroom by the cabinet. I saw it, about to wash my face, and I just stopped. what do I do? And I looked round and I just smiled and I thought, this is weird. And then Oliver got up and he said, Mommy, there's a big spider on the wall. And I looked at it. This is weird. But I just went off it and I stroked it. You don't stroke spiders. You know, it's not a cat or a dog. I stroked it and it just jumped and ran off. And I'm like, oh my God, they're so cute. Where does that come from? But it's just, I mean, I could just keep talking. There's just, everything looks different. Absolutely. I've had insights before. I thought I'd got it before. I've had blissed out feelings where nothing touches me. This is different. I'm in life. I'm feeling everything. But I'm aware, really aware of how we create our reality. And like Paul said, there's no judgment. You know, I've done stuff. I've had experiences. I've run with thoughts that I've had. Now, just, I don't know. And I'm not even going to say, well, it's early days, things could change. I've seen something and I can't explain it any better than I have, but life is just amazing. It's so easy. It's so simple. It's so fun. And geez, I'm not scared of spiders. It's like, wow, that's amazing.
Alice, that's beautiful, love.
I'm in a room with 8 snakes and I'm terrified of spiders. But I've just been bitten and I've got a boa constrictor around my neck.
What have you been bitten by?
Huh?
What have you been bitten by?
The king snake.
Let's see, is it bled? Oh, yeah.
Yeah, well, it's only small, but while I've got a boa constrictor around my neck, and like there was a spider on the wall in the snake room, and me and Tilly, my foster daughter, we were like, whoa, like exit snake room with 8 snakes in because there's a spider on the wall. So anyway, yeah, just how bizarre is that? Anyway, I shall mute myself again. I'm cleaning out snakes whilst I'm loving listening. So
thanks, Lise. Alice, what you said then, love. You can't put it into words. You did a beautiful job. You know, ultimately, what you find is it's where the word comes from. You know, ultimately what we're talking about is that dreams up the words comes before the words. Oh, you know, people go, oh, thought. They think they know what thought is. You cannot know what thought. I can guarantee, promise you now, don't think you know what thought is. You cannot know what thought is. Totally not the impossible. You're tapping.
I was saying, should we have a little, we normally have a little break in the middle just because I need the toilet. So should we just have like 5 minutes so people can go to the toilet and get a cup of tea? We do normally have it around 8 o'clock, but so we'll come back in 5 minutes. So my phone says 8:27.
Are we pausing the recording?
8:33.
Pause?
Say 8:35.
Yeah. Welcome back. That was just so beautiful listening to everybody that shared tonight.
It reminds me, like the first course I ever did, by the 3rd day, there wasn't really much teaching or facilitation. It was just people in the room sharing and everyone was like learning from each other. And I think that's the beautiful thing about this. Like it's so easy to put people up on pedestals and think, like I was so glad that Lisa agreed to share at the retreat because she hasn't really shared. She sometimes shares on group, but she hasn't ever kind of.
We recorded. Yeah, we recorded.
Yeah. We haven't shared. She hasn't shared in group for like a whole session. She's like, oh no, I'm just living it. But like I said on the thing, she really was one of the highlights for me of the retreat because what she shares is just, it's from Lisa. It's not trying to be anyone. It's not trying to sound like anything. She's sharing from her own experience. And I feel like listening to everyone tonight, you sharing from your experiences is you sharing the message. And it's so much more powerful than just the teaching. Like as words, because like Alice said, she could tell you all the things and say all the things, but she didn't feel it, and it isn't in the words.
No, it's not. It isn't. You know, and we get tangled up in words. We get tangled up in it.
Did you read that?
I did. Yeah, we get tangled up in words, and we think that the words are it. But if you really look at a word, if you really look at what language is, I think we mentioned it on the retreat. The fact we have language is testament to the fact that we all live in different realities. Because if we didn't, if there was a singular reality to which we all knew, there would be no reason for language. There'd be no need for it whatsoever. We only have language because every single one of us lives in our own individualized world, and we want to be able to communicate about it. But when you look at what language truly is, you realize it's just a load of noises that we learned when we were young. We were taught these words, these noises, and then each thing gets an associated noise. Paper, pen, watch, Dave, good, bad, right, wrong. Before we know it, we're lost in words. We're lost in the ideas that words create. And the moment we give something an identity, it creates a separation in our mind. Picture, wall. Well, the wall's different to the picture. Oh, it is. Is it? Fundamentally, is it? Oh, Jenny, Dave, different. Are we? Fundamentally, are we? I think it was Byron Katie who woke up and she couldn't remember words or something like that, and so no thing had a word association. And she said all she could see was it's all the same thing. The separation from what people call oneness, what people call God, is a thought. It's the only thing. The singularity of all things. That's our mind. People go in search of the spiritual. Right? Some people go in search of the spiritual. Some people really don't want. I'm not remotely interested in the spiritual. I was one of them. And then we start creating ideas as to what it's like to be spiritual. We're all already it. A divine incarnation. An incarnation of the divine force that creates all things. If there is creation, there has to be something from which it came. And people call that God. People call it Allah, Buddha, whatever the hell they want to call it, Jehovah, Tao, energy, source. Doesn't matter. It's all just words, just noises. We argue and fight about the noise. It's not Allah.
It was beautiful actually today in that church, hearing someone who they have services, but he just said, we're not about religion. We're about exploring the universe and ideas, and we welcome all religions, but we're not religious. And I didn't even know these kind of churches existed.
Unitarian.
Yeah. He said that there's only one in Cumbria, and there's a few across the world. And he was saying, but we've been a huge part in changes taking place in the world for getting rid of the slave trade, all different things. And it seems like there's something in that. It's about unity.
Yeah.
And seeing the sameness. And I didn't even realise these kind of churches kind of existed.
You go back to that we did Unitarian. Uni is one. Singular.
Thanks, Ross. But I didn't realise, like when he was speaking, it was like you would think he's speaking the principles, because it seems that there's a heart of it. I mean, he had quite a lot of judgment about religion being the seat of all evil and things, and I don't see it like that, so there's personal opinion, but you could see that there's so many people trying to guide people back to that space, that unity, that place within us that is the same.
We're all the same. We are all exactly the same thing. The only thing that creates the idea that we're different is because we all have different ideas and different thoughts. We all like different music. Why do we like different music? Because we all think different. We're all wearing different clothes, it appears. Why is that? Because we all think different. We don't all find the same people attractive. Why? Because we all think different. remember one person saying to me, "How do you explain gay people then, Dave?" Well, because they think that somebody of the same sex is attractive to them. It's like there is no exception to this. It is all experience is reality, and experience is consciousness. Consciousness is that awareness of life. The awareness of life creates the experience, and the experience we encounter is our reality. Consciousness is awareness. Awareness is experience. Experience is reality. I'm just going to pause it one moment. I'm going to pause the recording, and I'm just going to ask somebody a question. Thank you, everyone.
I was going to say, I've just mentioned that I can send the recordings to people that missed the retreat. We're having a retreat reunion already on Saturday morning because we didn't want it to end. So
we just love each other.
We've invited everyone to just join us from 9:30 till 12:30 on Saturday. So anyone that wasn't able to make it is welcome to join us. And it's probably going to be similar to this evening. Like, we really wanted to hear from people, like what's been occurring over the week, and if people had questions, or I don't know, sometimes it's just nice to have the top up. So we're doing that on Saturday, this Saturday, the 5th, 9:30 till 12:30. So just email us if you'd like to join us. I think I've put the link on the Facebook event for Saturday, and then anyone
is
that was
in
on
Freedom Thinking.
Yeah, and anyone that was on the retreat should have received an email with the links already.
Thank you, lot. Do you know what? We've heard some beautiful sharing tonight. Some really beautiful things. Paul, your public speaking dude, good job. Alice, thanks so much. And Ange, thanks, love. Love your hair. And I love the fact, Alice, I love the fact you stroked a spider. Or just one more, just because it came to me when you said it, that we did that work with that girl, Melissa from New Zealand. She had a cockroach. She called it Dave. And she said, I just can't kill it. Just can't kill it. Fucking Dave. He's in the sitting room this morning.
That's a terrible cute reaction.
Sat on the wall, she was going. Next thing, Dave's in my bedroom. Can't kill it. Good. Don't kill him. Oh, thank you, everyone. Right, you can go. Loads of love. See you soon.
And groups in 2 weeks.
Yeah, 2 weeks.
2 weeks from today, which I don't know the date of. But...
Thank you.
Bye, everyone. Stop recording.
Bye.